Yarn destashing! I'm going to show you in this video series my entire yarn collection, what types of projects you can do to use up all the yarn that you may have in your stash. I have a problem with yarn. If you're watching this video, you're probably like me where you love to have yarn and you like to collect yarn and buy it. I'm going to show you how much yarn I have, how I organize it. My goal this year is buy no more yarn and try to use up all the yarn in my current stash. I'm going to go through an easy project to use up your yarn stash. You can see here I use these shoe cubes. They work perfectly to store yarn. But look at this big stash I have here. That's a lot of yarn, but that's not all. Here is the rest of my yarn stash. So I have a cubicle that is a 4x3 filled with yarn. And then on top, I store even more with more of the shoe cubes where I put more of my yarn in. And that's a 3x3. You can tell I have a lot of yarn. Now, how do I organize it? Well, mostly this is acrylic yarn that's in the cubes. And the one I just showed you in this, and it's by color. And weight, these are all 4 weights. And then in the shoe containers, I keep my more nicer yarn, which might be cotton or some sort of natural fiber. And those are also organized by color. And for the most part are either worsted weight or DK weight yarn. Okay, and I am so sorry for the mess, but these bins, those are also full of yarn. So I have decided to start doing something with it. Now, the way I organize it is I put all my bulky yarns in these bins, and so I've pulled out these, which I got some vintage yarn here. Let's use up some yarn together. That is my goal. See all these? See, look, I made a dent, small dent, and I'm going to use up these yarns to make baskets. This is called Big. That's just what it's called. Big from Line Brand. Oh, it's like a vintage yarn in pink. Large lime. What's the difference between large lime and small? I've got Great Grape, Colossal Cherry. I see. They use big words to caveat that it's big yarn. Let's see. Back in the day, this was $8.99 each from Ben Franklin Crafts. I don't think they're around anymore. Does anyone know? Comment below if you know if Ben Franklin yarn is still around. So this is a super bulky. It's requesting a 15mm crochet hook. I hope I have one. Here's my large crochet hooks. I organized my crochet hooks by size. So these are 8mm and above. Hey, look at that. The first one I pulled out is my 15mm crochet hook. Here's what I'm going to make with this vintage yarn. I made a basket, and I didn't know, but this yarn has actually got some wool in it. So it's got a little bit of quality to it. Again, this is a vintage Line Brand yarn. This is a pretty cool little basket. So when you unwrap the wool from its paper, it's going to come in something like this. So you'll have to just cut these with your scissor to get it out. And there's, I think, 3 or 4 of these little things that you need to take out. It's very thick. It does not get tangled easily. We'll just start with this string, and it just kind of unravels. See how it's like in this big circle. I'll go ahead and make a basket. In my little crochet journal, which I recommend y'all get, crochet journal, and write down your name here. It's got, this crochet terms guide to just go back and reference. How do you convert millimeter to the American style? Got a little counter in case you need to keep track of your rows or rounds that you're in. This project that I'm working on is my yarn Destash. I'm using a big 15mm hook, super bulky yarn, 80/20. The one I did right here is panoramic pink. The tool I thought was very useful was a stitch marker. And here's the pattern here. You can write it down or screenshot it, but this is your basic basket. Very simple, easy to see, easy to do. Start off with your magic circle, and I did 6 single crochets, and then I increased it. Then I worked in a spiral, which is why a stitch marker is handy. And you go to 24, 30, and then the single crochet into the back loop only, all the way around, 30 stitches. And then you're going to do 4 rows of single crochet. Then you end it with the crab stitch right here. What I'm going to do is make a bunch of these baskets, since I have, I think, 4 different colors of these brightly colored big yarns from Lion Brand. I'm just going to make 4 matching baskets, and I'm going to use it for my kids' toys and put little toys inside of it, because I think that'd be cute. You can also use it to put maybe your, hair accessories, makeup accessories, whatever you like into these things. That's going to be useful for you. And so for me, I'm going to put my kids' toys in it. So my daughter has some like little stuffed animals, and she has some nesting dolls, things like that. I'll make 4 of these little cute matching baskets. And that's kind of my review of this old vintage yarn. It says panoramic pink, made in Turkey. I guess there's actually a pattern inside for this weird looking hat, if you're into that kind of thing. Also do some sort of pattern. I guess we can see what it's got here if you'd like. Let's see. Knit. Oh, it's a knit. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're not knitting, so. Oh, look at that. Look, it's got an old tag. I wonder what that would scan these days. Anyway, it's knitting. I don't do that, so at least not on hand knitting. I do circular knitting. A circular knitting machine. That's different. That's that one. And then it looks like this has the exact same pattern. That's kind of Lame, but that's okay. Cool kid's hat. Do you think that's a cool kid? Write in the comments below, yes or no. Is that a cool kid's hat? All right. There you have it. I guess with that, I can just kind of show you. It is a little difficult to work with this kind of yarn. Your hands are going to get sore because holding the yarn is not necessarily easy. Oh, I know what it was. I wanted to show you what this yarn actually looks like. So I tied the end so it wouldn't come undone, but it's actually 3 strands of yarn. Here, see, if you unravel it, you can see that it's 3 strands of yarn that are also twisted together, and then they twist it all together into this piece here, and that kind of makes up the yarn, which is why it's so thick. It's 3 different strands of yarn put together, and it's a soft, so like I said, it has that wool in it, so it's actually quite soft, which I do enjoy touching it. I thought about making a jacket or something with it, but since I only had the 4 skeins of yarn, okay, I'll use 2, which is what I'm used to doing. So my hook would sometimes split the yarn often, and that was kind of annoying, and it is thicker, so it's a bit harder to get through. You know, to work it on your hands, this can be a little bit tough because it's such a thicker yarn, and then getting your hook through there is a little difficult. So I just start off with a magic circle, and I'm going to do my 6 single crochets into it, as the pattern says. And then you can imagine the stitch markers, getting it into that is actually kind of hard because it's such a thick yarn. Yeah, but it's workable. 1, 2, 3, 3 more. You can tell how it's kind of creaking and a little bit hard to get into. 2, 3, 4, 5, and my final one for 6. And then you can grab your yarn in here and pull it tight to close up the center. I am going to just crochet right over this piece here. Now this piece here, I leave it on there, but it does have a knot. If you don't knot it in the end, it will come unraveled. These 3 strands will come unraveled. That's why you have to kind of knot the ends to make sure it doesn't come unraveled. That's why they have that there. I would just continue keeping that tied on there, and I'll just crochet right over it. So I'll go into my first stitch here and do 2 all the way around for a total of 12. And you can see how it's tight. My tension is very strong. So, you know, to make it easier on yourself, maybe have a looser tension than me, obviously. And so I'll show you how I get my stitch marker on there. And that's your first one for this round number 2. And I just kind of have to pinch the yarn together, and there you go. There's your stitch marker. It's mark number 1 for the second round. And again, I just kept going around in a spiral all the way to 30, back loop only. I hope you enjoyed it. This is going to be the start of my vintage yarn reviews, or just my yarn destashing in general, starting with some of the vintage yarns I have and just trying to get rid of them, use it up. I keep storing so much yarn. Who else here has a yarn problem? Anyone else a yarn? Comment below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day, and watch my next video.